Hi, I'm Dr. Greg Owens from the Reimagine Schools podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to right now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at Fresh Air at 5 or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected.
Hey, PLN, Monday, December 12, 2022. Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you being here and taking a listen to me talking right now, because we are on the other side of episode 100 of Fresh Air at 5. What a journey. I titled it Gratitude for This Journey, and it's true. If you listen to episode 100, you will hear me oozing with gratitude as I am thankful for all those that have made a difference in Fresh Air at 5 and had input into my life. I'm huffing right now because I'm going up the hill at Whatcom, and it's not a great place to record. One, because car noise sometimes, but two, because I'm huffing and puffing. Okay. All right. As I'm listening now, walking this morning, I came across the Shooks and Gif podcast. So shooksandgif.com, and it's Jen Giffen bringing us season 6, episode 1. And Jen, you know what? Jen, it's so good to hear your voice and hear the dad joke and hear the tech that you bring, and you share with us where you've been and why you've been, where you've been. And you know what? It's true. It takes time, it takes effort, and sometimes we need to give ourselves a break. And so I'm proud of you for giving yourselves a break. And that was a while ago that you had your last episode, season 5, episode 12, called Finally Motivated. I just came on my podcatcher, that's why I remember. But in there, you had a text generator, you had some other things. But in this episode, people, you should go take a listen, because Jen's got some gold in here. She's got some stuff for image editing, some PDF editing. She's got a meditation app for sounds. She's got some stuff from Eric Kurtz that she shares. I need to go look at the show notes. You should go look at the show notes and give Jen a high five. Jen, high five. All right, talk to you soon. Have a fab day. Bye-bye. One more thing for December 12th, 2022. Good morning, Tom. Hope you're doing well, and thank you for your podcast, the Tom Schimmer Podcast. Tom and I connected back in October, and it was so fantastic to sit down and have coffee with you, Tom, and I look forward to doing that again. As we're moving forward, you mentioned that this is the last of the Tom Schimmer Podcast, so all those that are listening to your podcast will know that. But if you have not listened to the Tom Schimmer Podcast, people, I encourage you to go and listen to Tom's podcast, because he's got thought-provoking conversations. He's got nuggets of wisdom. He has got assessment corner, and he shares how it's going and what's going on as he is a learner. So thank you, Tom. I want to say that. And we just got past episode 100 in Fresh Air at 5 this past weekend. And I think I don't know if I mentioned you in that episode, because I don't know if I listened to, no, I did listen to your episode last week as you talked about celebrate your wins. And that celebration of wins is, for me, about celebrating episode 100 and the success that I have seen in myself as I've done that. So that's just a a shameless plug there for myself. And, you feel bad by sharing your wins, and we shouldn't be like that because they are about who we are. This week, as you talk on episode 94, you talk about no Christmas trophy. You don't get a Christmas trophy for doing the best Christmas possible. You talked about your top 5 episodes of Christmas movies, and that's a great list. I have to come up with mine, and I will post mine, but one of my childhood favorites, well, it was one that we had to watch all the time with my folks. I don't know if it was my favorite, but I didn't have any other choice, was The Sound of Music with Julie Andrews. And just talking about, family and community. It was so fantastic as the Von Trapps changed our lives, and how we have all those songs that are so meaningful. And then Assessment Corner with Natalie Verbasso and Colleen Dawson, as you talk about the empowering ecosystem that Natalie's got going. Thanks, Natalie. Look forward to connecting with you more. Have a fabulous day, all. Okay, peace. Carpenter out. Bye. Hey, PLN, December 13, 2022. Good morning to you. Minus 2 degrees Celsius, dry and clear. There's no ice on the road, so that's fantastic. This morning, I listened to a New to Me podcast, and this is from a person that I've interacted with on social media a little bit through a connection, and I have now listened to her podcast, and I'm learning more about Natalie Verbasso. And I probably said your name wrong, Natalie, I apologize. But as we are going along here, I listened to the EduCrush podcast, season 3, episode 54. That's a lot of episodes, Natalie, as you have shared your thoughts about education and about being a change agent in our world. You talked with
Peter Rosthauser of Disrupt Education. A correction, I call you Rick through the rest of this. My apologies.
And Rick is a educator out of Illinois, and how he's been in education for a long time and is looking at how we can change the narrative and provide students an opportunity that is much more than the industrial model that we and I have grown up in, and many of us have grown up in over the years. And how can we crack this thing open and provide authentic learning, recording of that learning, and dealing with change? I honestly, Natalie, don't like change. Going through a lot of it right now with some of our systems at school, and we've got Google to Microsoft, we've got our Moodle system into Brightspace, we've got new report card systems, and this is a lot of stuff going on at one time. When we're supposed to be learning and teaching in these spaces with our students and bringing them along. So, I'm honest with my students that this is hard to do. It's not easy, but we need to keep on progressing. I like what Rick said, that it's learning hurts. If learning is easy, then are we learning? And I talk to my students about that, but when it gets around to me, I don't like it. We don't like it. So, hey, Natalie and Rick, I appreciate it. Have a fabulous day, and check this out. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, December 14, 2022, out for fresh air at 5. It's minus 1 degree Celsius, dry, not icy like yesterday. And it's a beautiful morning. The moon is about almost a half moon up there, and the stars are out, and it's crisp and cool. So beautiful day. This morning I listened to a New to Me podcast. Now I have listened to this podcast before, but not independently, and I haven't put it in my queue prior, but it will be in my queue now. It is called The Second Question with Martin Silverman, and out of Texas. And Martin, thank you so much for putting out your content. And as I'm listening today to season 3, episode 5, I was looking on social media, and you talked about your 50th episode coming up soon. So I don't know where that's going to fit into season 3, what episode number it is, but you reached out and asked some questions about how do I celebrate episode 50. Well, one thing, that's awesome, Martin. That's fantastic that you are still doing this, and you are still asking the second question. For those of you that don't know, the second question is, who's an influential teacher in your life and why? And that's an interview question that he asks as a principal hiring, and I think that's a fantastic question, because that's going to talk a lot about yourself and what your connection to the past educators are from the regular ones, and how they have stood out. Okay, so Martin Silverman talks on episode 5 of season 3 with Tim Stevenson, my buddy Astro Stevenson in Langley. And Tim, it's great to hear you talk with Martin about science education and sharing science and making science palatable for everybody, and telling stories about science and connecting it to our everyday. You know, the fact that I'm out walking right now and the temperature is milder here in British Columbia in the winter than it is in the rest of the country, that's curious to me. Why is it that's the way? Why? Because I live near the ocean, is it warmer than if I didn't live near the ocean? All right, that's all I got. Tim and Martin, have a fabulous day. New to Me podcast, take a listen to the second question with Martin Silverman. Peace out, and also listen to Tim Stevenson's Science 360. Peace, bye. All right, one more thing for December 14, 2022. On the heels of listening to the second question with Martin Silverman, episode 5 of season 3, as he interviews Tim Stevenson. It's kind of nifty that our paths did cross prior, Martin, as I was out for a walk one morning with Tim Stevenson, and I don't have many guests on my podcast because of the nature of, my recording studio at 5 o'clock a.m. in the cold, and people don't come walk with me very often. But Tim reached out and said, hey, let's go for a walk and listen to your podcast or do some recording. And so I did, met him, and this was his pick to listen to the second question. You were talking with Mike Earnshaw, the skateboarding principal. So that was pretty nifty. Back on July 18th that Tim and I listened to your podcast. So our paths had crossed. You know, you mentioned that as we were conversating about episode 50 for you coming up. And that's pretty cool. I went back and looked and went, what? I did listen to the second question before, and I did. So, but now it's a New to Me podcast that is going to be in the Fresh Air at 5 queue. And yes, awesome. Great stuff going on there in your space as an elementary principal, and just keep that fire burning so that you can inspire kids as they move on and beyond. All right, peace. Talk to you guys later. Bye. The last thing for December 14, 2022, I want to mention my friend Bruce. I just ran into him and his dog Sophie just down the street. So fantastic to see him. You know, it's nice to connect with someone in your neighborhood, like-minded individual, and he's being progressive about education and making a difference in young people's lives in his space, working with trades trainers, trainees, the people that are learning about trades. All right, this morning as I'm finishing up, I listened to episode 38 of Evolving with Gratitude with Lainey Rowell, and it was great to hear your voice again, Lainey. Such a positive spin of my week, and just joy and gratitude just oozes from Evolving with Gratitude, because that's what it's about. And you talk with Josh Tovar, principal in, I think, Texas or New Mexico. Not sure exactly. Josh, I missed where you were from, but you're a Jaguar, and it was great to hear Josh's energy. Josh talk about being grateful for his past and the places that he has come from, and honoring the past, understanding our own personal histories, understanding what our parents had to go through to get us to be where we are today. My mom and dad, they had a college education, and they went to college, and my dad was a trades guy, printing press, and in graphic arts, and that spilled over into my life, as you can see from me being a digital media teacher. Also looking at my mom and her just commitment to our family. You know, my mom was a hardworking mom, and as soon as we were out of elementary school, she was back to work so that, you know, she could provide her and dad for my sister and I. I'm thankful for where, you know, I've come from, and I don't begrudge that at all. It's so fantastic that I've had the opportunities that I am where I am now. And so Josh, he tells that same story, tells that story to the students in his schools, and makes a difference there. Thanks, Lainey. Look forward to hearing more from you, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if I don't hear another one, because I think you're wrapping up for the season. Okay, talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye. Hey PLN, welcome to Friday, December 16, 2022. Big shout out to my daughter who's turning 16 today. Happy birthday, sweetheart. And she's, yes, grade 10, making a difference in people's lives. And it's awesome to see. Loves school, loves her friends. So happy birthday, sweetie. And we will have a birthday gathering later this weekend for you. Okay, as I'm out for Fresh Air at 5 this morning, it's minus 2 degrees Celsius, clear. There's a high high cloud overhead. The moon is about half, and I got out a bit earlier this morning because it's the last day of school here. I got a lot of marking to do for my onliners before the break, and I got to get going on it early. We've also got staff breakfast, so it's just a full day, but a good day. I'm excited to be here. This morning, as I stepped out the door, I saw on my podcatcher on Apple Podcasts, top podcast for me to listen to was episode 129 of the EdTech Bites podcast with Gabriel Carrillo. And as I started listening, he's like, oh, we're going to have five people to listen to on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And I'm like, that's cool. Get some more follows out of this, which is pretty nifty for me to listen to and to follow. And so right out of the gates, Gabe, you brought up my name. Wow, man. Oh, dude, so honored here. So honored. Just awesome. And thank you so very much for mentioning me with the 5 other Twitter follows that you want people to follow. And it's a privilege and honor, as I'm in episode 101 of Fresh Air at 5, to bring you content that I have listened to through the week, stitching it all together as a podcast at the end of the week, so it can go out on the podcast as well as my dailies on Twitter. So appreciate Gabe so very much. Those cookies sound delicious. And yes, brother, we need to break bread together one day. We'll see how that can happen and where that can happen. All right, that's all for here. More to listen to coming right back at you. Peace. One more thing for December 16, 2022. Listen to Seeing to Lead with Dr. Chris Jones. And I don't know an episode number, Chris, because I can't find it on the podcast on Apple. But it came out this week, and it was called Empowering with Wakelet, I think. Okay, that's not even helping. But it's with Tisha Poncio and Rick Butterworth of Wakelet, as you have a conversation from a skeptic's point of view, Chris, about Wakelet, which is great because it allows us to all relate. Because I've had my concerns about starting a new thing, and Tisha and I have connected very loosely over the years, over me listening to different podcasts, and she is talking about how fantastic Wakelet is, and I go take a look, but then I get busy and it gets away on me, and I don't keep it at the fore, and I need to keep it at the fore. So this guy right here is in the midst of a crossroads right now, and the roads are I think we're merging from one highway onto another. We were on the Google highway, and we're merging onto the Microsoft highway, and how we need to take our students from one place to another, and doing that. And so I think Wakelet, I'm going to give Wakelet a go to put and curate some of the content that I've got to share with my students that is not as easy to share, I'm finding, in Microsoft Teams. How do I do that? Yeah, I can drop links in the chat, put them on the homepage, things like that. But if I had a Wakelet that was a whole lot more touchable than the cumbersomeness of Microsoft Teams, Microsoft, they've got a whole bunch of ideas about how to make that better. go look at Google. But okay, that's for another day. We're talking about Lakelet. Maybe I can have a way that my students can get to content that I can share with them that's much easier than trying to drop links into Teams, chat, and things like that. Okay, that's all I got. Rick Butterwood, Tisha Poncio, big shout out to you and Dr. Chris Jones as you share on Seeing to Lead. Take a look and listen, people. Have a fabulous Friday. Peace out. Carpenter on vacay soon. Bye-bye.
As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.